Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. So today I've been tasked with talking about. I can hear some echo. Okay, I think it's fine now. Okay, so today I've been tasked with talking about a blockchain lawyer pros and cons. But I was telling you one day that seems to be a very funny topic. So I changed it to what you can see on my screen, which is opportunities in the blockchain industry for lawyers and law students. Before I proceed, I would like to find out how many of us here have law students or even lawyers. Are there any law students or lawyers in the house? Okay, I can see one hand. Okay, my second question is, how many of us here know any law students or lawyers?
We have about 5 hands up.
More than 5, close to 10 hands.
Okay, I was asking the second question because even if you are not a lawyer or you're not a law student, you can always share the recording of this conference with your friends who are lawyers or law students. Okay. So why are we talking about this topic today? If you search about the highest paying blockchain jobs globally, on the list, there are like 10 on the list, and one of it happens to be blockchain legal consultant. That definitely shows that lawyers and law students are important in the blockchain ecosystem. So today I'm focusing on blockchain law occupations, even though I'm going to touch a bit on applications and implications. But today is not going to be a lecture about blockchain law, because we are mostly going to be talking about the opportunities that law students and lawyers can take advantage of in the ecosystem. But before we get to the meat of today's presentation, I'm going to first of all touch a little bit on applications before we get to occupations. Now, what are the blockchain law applications? When I checked the agenda, I liked the way it was arranged. I think one of the first topic was teaching about an introduction to blockchain. So I want to believe by now, those who have been attending from the beginning would have an idea about what blockchain is. Now, there are different applications of blockchain, though the most popular one that we all probably know about is Bitcoin. But there are also specific blockchain law applications. That's areas where one can use blockchain in the legal industry. One of such is for use of records of public documents. One feature we must have learned about blockchain is that it is immutable. Now, this particular feature is very important when it comes to records of public documents. It helps to be able to show that one can prove that, okay, something belongs to them, or they have a particular license, or any other thing that they want have been given to them, maybe from the government. Another use in blockchain law applications is automation and self-executing contracts. These days, most people now sign their contracts and documents online. You can use Adobe Acrobat, you can use any other signing software that is available. Now imagine it goes a level higher, whereby those contracts become self-executing. In the sense that once you maybe sign the contract, let's use the example of a landlord and a tenant. In the sense that once you sign your tenancy agreement, maybe you then get a digital key to unlock your door and you're able to enter, and immediately also your rent is released on your wallet to your landlord. So all this could happen.
Funny, you scared
So
them
how
already.
this could happen literally. I'm hearing something. Okay, I think I can continue. So how this could happen literally immediately and automatically without someone having to move from one to another, without your landlord having to maybe wait for you to transfer the rent and then you looking for the agent to give you the key to the house and all of that. So using that kind of simplistic example is a way that self-executing contracts can work. Yeah, another way that blockchain law can be applied is in the use of digital IP rights. And these days, many of us must have been hearing about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Now, a simple definition of NFT is a digital asset that is not replicable, something like that, that you cannot also break into smaller quantities or smaller units. So replicable, that means it can be unique and used to show that, okay, this person is the owner of this intellectual property. This person owns this intellectual property assets. Another way blockchain can be used is as notaries. I already know that most often when you are maybe applying for a visa, you get told to go notarize the document. And often they recognizing Nigerian notaries because they feel that most notaries simply sign documents without seeing the owners of those documents or the people who need to attest to those documents. So this is why most times embassies require that you go to the embassy to notarize the document. So we can solve these issues of distrust and not trusting that you're actually in front of the notary public before signing it. We can use the blockchain to solve this issue of distrust. Another one is corporate matters. Recently, the Corporate Affairs Commission, that is an agency in Nigeria that is responsible for registering companies and business names, they recently made a good upgrade where you can now literally register your company online without visiting the CSA office or any of their branches. So you can get your certificate online also. You just simply need to download it and you can print it. So that's a very good step in the right direction, but it still has a lot of lapses and gaps, and blockchain can also solve all those lapses and gaps because it becomes easy to verify that a company is existing or not existing. Another blockchain law application is decentralized justice. I'm going to talk more about that very soon when I get to blockchain occupations. And the last but not the least is blockchain can be used as a chain of custody for evidence. Currently, I don't think Nigeria has any system for recognizing chain of custody for evidence. It's probably in the hands of the prosecutor to keep and maintain evidence. But as time goes on, wear and tear could happen to those evidence and they could lose their original relevance and original information that would have probably been used when trying out a case. So with blockchain, it's possible to I say freeze the original states of this evidence, and then everyone can identify where when the evidence moves from one person to another. Okay, blockchain law implications. I understand that we have just very few law students or lawyers in the audience, so I'm not going to go deep into this, but I also want to mention that there are implications when it, should I say, legal considerations when it comes to blockchain. We have corporate structure. You a project is interested in launching a blockchain solution or a blockchain service, they need to consider how they plan to structure corporate-wise. Do they need to register a limited liability company? And even if they decide to register a limited liability company, they need to also consider the number of shares that they would need to use to register the limited liability company. Then they can also consider if they need to register a foundation, that means operates as a non-profit organization, just like the Ethereum Foundation that oversees the Ethereum blockchain organization. Then we have implications relating to jurisdiction. As we know, most blockchain activities using participants to nodes. So those nodes could be literally in any country. So if there is relating to a transaction, would you now be able to trace it to the node and then determine whether a political would apply or not? And there is implications relating to intellectual property. I mentioned NFTs earlier. One thing that has come up relating to legal considerations with NFT is who, because it's possible that the artist who created the NFT art may be different from the person who created art, or may even be different from the person who put it up for sale on an NFT marketplace. So legal considerations relating to who then holds the intellectual property in the NFT art. And we have protection. I would want to use the in-era that was just released to kind of explain this. So CBDCs are not cryptocurrencies, but some do use blockchain technology. If you've signed up for the in-era, you will discover that there is no privacy policy on the app. And also, you will discover that they are collecting a lot of data, BVN, your name, and all of that. But there is no privacy policy to like explain to users how their data is being managed. In fact, there is even a new update that it seems the privacy policy has been lifted from a foreign company and just copied and pasted and used on the app. And last but not the least is succession. Now, I'm just mentioning just these 6 implications. There are lots of other implications. Now, succession is very interesting because have you ever considered or asked yourself, what happens to your Bitcoin if you die? I know some of us own some assets. I hope they're not shit coins. But I know some of us own some cryptocurrencies. Now, have you ever asked yourself the question of what happens to your Bitcoins if you die? It's an issue of succession because it to be money in the bank. And beneficiaries can apply after submitting some documents, be able to lay claim to the money. So when we talk about cryptocurrency, the focus is on third party to have access to you. That means unless you probably decide your private key, your password details to someone, no one says your cryptocurrency with that. So there are just coming up on how to manage it. I think it's something. All right, I'm going to go to the meeting session. I see I have left. I hope I'm able to do justice. So blockchain law occupation, the different opportunities that lost lawyers can take advantage. Time that some may still be in school, called to the bar, or have not yet gone to work. I'm always of the opinion that prepare themselves. And you probably heard that luck is what meeting preparation. So if an opportunity comes your way, maybe getting caught to buy and you've done nothing, and suddenly an opportunity comes your way, probably will not be able to take advantage of that opportunity. Different occupations that law students and lawyers can consider in the system. The first one is legal consulting. It's probably what most qualified and licensed lawyers do when they say they are blockchain. And there are different things you can do in this way, because most times when blockchain and crypto projects come to me, they come in the form of, I call it a tabula rasa, because they are a clean slate. So I would need to help them draw a legal roadmap for their corporate governance, like I mentioned earlier. Would they need to register as a limited liability company, or would they need to set up as a non-profit organization? Then there are some questions relating to the appropriate jurisdiction they need to incorporate. Currently, there are lots of legal and regulatory uncertainties that when it comes to blockchain, even we can say it's happening in Nigeria, we currently don't have any law that is regulating blockchain. So that can make it difficult for some projects maybe desiring to settle in Nigeria to set up their corporate governance. So they would want to consider other jurisdictions like Malta, Switzerland, and other places that already have clear laws to regulate blockchain and crypto projects. Then also, you will help, most lawyers help blockchain projects to decide on if they should raise funds through an ICO or an STO and IO. I know most of us might be conversant with ICO. They were very popular in 2017 and 2018. But these days, what we have are IOs, initial exchange offerings, that are now more popular, where projects raise funds by listing on an exchange, and then people can buy their tokens on that exchange. Okay, number two is policy formulation and analysis. Like I mentioned, there is huge regulatory uncertainty when it comes to blockchain, not just in Nigeria, literally in most countries around the world. And emerging technologies like blockchain have the highest need for policy formulations. So one can offer this service to governments themselves or even to private and international organizations. Number three is legislative tracking. As we know, like I mentioned, that there is usually regulatory uncertainty. That means most often, literally every week, we are going to hear about a new law or a new regulation or a new policy relating to blockchain being issued by the government. In fact, most recently is one released by FAT, where they released their cryptocurrency guidelines for people who are using cryptocurrency or traveling around the world with cryptocurrency. And legal compliance. A lawyer can help a project with processing the license. Like I mentioned, some jurisdictions have clear laws, but they require that anyone operating on, depending on the business that the person is operating, like if the person is operating an exchange, they are going to need to get a license. So depending on the business they're operating, they might need to get a license or they might need to get an approval. In Nigeria, there seems to be a conflict in the position between the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Central Bank of Nigeria. So maybe depending on when they harmonize their currently conflicting stance, we would have clear positions on whether anyone operating maybe A crypto exchange will need a license or an approval to operate in Nigeria. Another interesting one is legal representation or litigation. I'm currently not a litigation lawyer. I do mostly transactional legal practice. And that means I don't go to court to shout my love. But we have very strong litigation lawyers, and a recent one is where the court ordered the CBN to the banks to unfreeze the accounts of RiseVest. If we remember earlier this year, CBN issued a circular stating that banks were prohibited from offering their services to any crypto exchange. And so if there is any crypto exchange or any accounts in the banks were told to like close or freeze any accounts that they realize is operating in cryptocurrencies. So now the court has been ordered to unfreeze the account, stating that circulars were not laws. So until there is a law that prohibits that, then banks cannot simply freeze an account. I am sure that the lawyers that were involved in this case would have needed to understand how cryptocurrency works and other relating issues related to cryptocurrency to be able to serve the clients very well. Although most crypto and blockchain cases that happen in Nigeria happen to be related to fraud. Maybe someone's money, someone was scammed. In fact, I currently have an issue where someone reached out to me on LinkedIn claiming that someone in Nigeria scammed them. Since I don't do litigation, I'm partnering with a colleague who does litigation to help them take up the case with the FCC. Another interesting one is decentralized jury. During the lockdown, during the height of the lockdown, we saw that most courts went online with them using Zoom and other online conferencing software since they could no longer really sit in court. Now, digitizing court processes will not necessarily solve all these issues. Issues of backlogs, judges being overbooked, and all of that, and issues of time where a case can take months and years before, or even decades before it is concluded. Now, even if things move online, all of these issues may still not be solved because we will still have issues relating to people not even being able to have access to infrastructure to be able to join online courts. Now, a solution to this could be decentralized courts, which Clarus is well known for. What happens is anonymous participants can sign up to the decentralized courts. They can join a court and look for a dispute on the court and help resolve the disputes. Why this is important is because jurors do not actually have to be lawyers. They only need to have expertise in the area in which the dispute arises. Let's use the example of a web developer and maybe someone who commissioned them having an issue. Now, the worth of the issue might just be maybe $200. Imagine taking such a case to court. By the time you pay the lawyer, by the time you pay processing fees, by the time you file the case in court, by the time you consider all those expenses, you probably end up spending over $200. So a simple solution like this, that one can take the matter to an online court and have jurors. These jurors will then be people who have experience with web development, so they'll be able to make informed decisions. In fact, recently, a court in Mexico accepted a ruling by the clearest court as legally valid. You can see that this is something related to arbitration, and courts usually recognize arbitration decisions, and even arbitration claims are recognized in courts, even locally and internationally. Okay, another interesting opportunity that law students and lawyers can consider is becoming legal researchers. I have some friends and colleagues who do not practice law in quotes. I put it in quotes because they don't even do transactional law practice, they don't do litigation. What they do is legal research. In fact, I think I'll use this opportunity to introduce Smart Contract Research Forum, where is a forum that's trying to connect researchers in academia and industry. Currently, there is an application open for Pan-African grants. I will share this slides after this presentation so you can get a link. You can apply to the Pan-African grants, and then you can do a research summary, and they currently pay about $300 per research summary. Research summary does not mean you are going to do an original research, no. It means you are going to find a paper on a particular topic and then distill the key insights from that paper into a research summary. So you can see this like a perfect case of learn and hand, because as you are reading the research paper, you are going to be boosting your knowledge and increasing your competence, and then you still get paid for it. And that's not only it. We can join some deals that decentralized autonomous organizations, for example, Lex deal, Bankless deal. You can join them and participate in research, and they get paid for it. In fact, currently I'm doing a tech policy fellowship with Tony Blair Institute for Global Change, where I'm being paid £3,000 to research on the use of smart contracts in space. I'm still working on my research, but very soon it should be published for anyone to read. So I know I'm mentioning the dollars and the pounds and the money, but the point I'm trying to make is there are lots of opportunities as a legal researcher in the blockchain industry. Okay, smart contracts program. Now, this way I think I should mention that just focusing on only your law degree might not favor you in the long run. Today's lawyers and law students need to come to the table with more skills than just their legal degree. And if you haven't heard of Web3 Bridge, Aya is the speaker at this conference, so you are going to hear more from him very soon, but I'm just going to pitch it here. If you think you are interested in smart contracts programming, you should sign up for their bootcamp. I've done the bootcamp before, so you should really sign up for their bootcamp and get smart contract programming skills. Because I'm very confident that lawyers who can program smart contracts would be indispensable. Now I'll soon round up. I know my time is almost up. Another opportunity that law students and lawyers can consider is getting involved in smart contracts audit and review. Now, when you talk about smart contract is simple code. When you talk about auditing code, what comes to mind may be checking it for code bugs, but that's not just the only thing one needs to check for. One can also check for legal discrepancies. One can also insert an arbitration clause. We just talked about decentralized justice not long ago. So that would be the place to insert an arbitration clause, whereby if there is a dispute relating to the smart contract, parties can move their disputes to a clearest court, or juries, or jaw, that's another decentralized court. There are several others too. So one can pick anyone that they prefer. I think there's also Aragon courts. So there are several decentralized justice platforms that one can pick. And lawyers can also check smart contract code for compliance and also for things like locking, especially for founders of a blockchain project. And then to also check that there is proper custody of funds. For instance, if a project is running an ICO, it would be improper to have just one person in custody of the funds of the ICO. Here's where most people then use a multi-signature wallet. That's where issues of governance and token economies come into play. So lawyers can consider getting a career as a smart contract auditor or reviewer. In fact, I joined this Securium bootcamp, though the application is closed, but I'm sure they're going to have future bootcamps. So you can follow them on social media, and so you can get to know when the next bootcamp starts for anyone that's interested. So the last but not the least opportunity I want to talk about is becoming a cryptocurrency investigator. We've heard the stories of fraud, theft, and hacks happening relating to crypto, and there are also those who try to investigate to find solutions or maybe even recover the lost funds or even try to trace, if possible, the person involved in the hacks and fraud. So it's actually very possible that a lawyer and law student can want to consider this kind of opportunity in blockchain. So while I did not mention this area, I think it's something important to consider. The blockchain is very broad and wide. Even in law itself, law is very broad and wide. And I'm always one who tells people to specialize, because specialization is going to be the fastest ticket you can have to a very good career. Because once you specialize, it makes it easier for you to be successful. So if you are thinking of going into blockchain, you can still narrow down and consider different blockchain law combinations. In fact, one of my mentors recently released a book on blockchain and antitrust, because that's what he has narrowed down his area into blockchain and antitrust. There were several here, there are over 10 here. I'm not going to start listing them because my time is already fast spent. Now, I'm going to quickly talk about how to establish. So if you've been thinking that, okay, you would like to get into this blockchain, and this applies not only to law students and lawyers, it applies to anyone who is considering a career in blockchain and cryptocurrency. I know the last speaker talked about how to build your personal brand so you are employable by people who would need your skills. So my 3 key tips for people to establish in any career is for them to consume, to create, and to collaborate. What do I mean by consume? I mean to consume content. An empty barrel cannot give anything. So you need to consume content. You can consume content through text, audio, video, graphics, any way that you think is more convenient for you. And the same thing when it comes to creation. You can create content through any more comfortable format. Some people prefer to do videos, some people prefer to talk, they can do podcasts, some people prefer to write, they can write articles. So whichever format is more convenient for you, you can utilize that to create content. Creating content means you tell people that this is an area you are now interested in. So next time they see an opportunity relating to that area, they're going to send it to you. Like the Tony Blair Institute Fellowship I'm doing, someone sent me the link. I was never aware of it, but a friend sent it to me, and that was when I applied. So when you create content, it also helps you to ruminate on all the consumption you have done. So it also helps you to reinforce the learning from all the consumption you have done. And collaborate, of course. you need to go with someone if you want to go far. They say if you want to go fast, to go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. So you need to collaborate, because when you collaborate, you also put yourself in front of the audience of the person or organization you collaborate with. All right, I've come to the end of my presentation. I hope I haven't bored you guys, and you've been able to pick one or two things. I'll be happy to answer questions now.